anyway, here to discuss all of this is Texas Congressman who is on the House Oversight Committee. Michael Cloud is with us. Congressman, great to have you back on the show.
Well, thanks. Good to be with you.
All right, Congressman. So first off, you're part of this investigation. You hear all the testimony, your response and reaction, I guess, now that you have all the information in and the reports out.
Yeah, what we're finding out is what the American people have suspected all along. You know, when Biden was in the White House, everybody was wondering who was really running the country. That was the big question. And what we're finding out as we get through this investigation is the fact that Biden was not running the White House in many regards. And the fact that so many pardons were issued without his knowledge is very telling. And then it's telling also the ones that he did know about. He knew about Hunter Biden's. It's the only one with video proof, and somehow Hunter Biden was advising on all the pardons. I mean, so it shows you just the kind of corruption and wheeling and dealing that was going on, and the fact that, you know, the politicos were running and advising on the doctor not to have a cognitive assessment all the time that this was going on. You know, it puts us in a position where finally we're able to go at it. The first step of accountability is transparency. So this provides the transparency that we need. We're calling on the DOJ to continue the review that they've already started, to dig into this, and then we'll be able to follow up with the rest and those kind of things as we determine the criminality.
So let's get right to the heart of this. Were you able to determine who was at the heart of this? Who was calling the shots? Who concocted this scheme with the Autopen?
Well, it seems like a cabal of the administrative officials. We know in some regards it was emails coming from the White House chief of staff, some even sent by his assistant, potentially, that was saying, go ahead, use the Autopen for this. And as the chairman mentioned, the Biden's own DOJ was saying, this is probably not a good idea. We don't think this might stand up in court. You probably shouldn't use this for legal terms. And this is exactly what's going on that we're finding out right now, is that these are not going to have the legal merit. And so that opens up a whole new question. A number of the people to get pardons, for example, was the January 6th committee that the House Dems had set up. And we know they burned evidence as they were walking out the door. That's a criminal issue. And so we may have House members who come under review and are investigated on what happened there, now that the pardons looks like will be lifted.
Was there any possibility that a low-level staffer could go rogue on this, could sign their own pardon for a friend or something like that? Or was it all orchestrated from this cabal of the leaders inside the White House?
Well, we know that also included the political wing as well, and somehow included Hunter Biden. And so how he got any sort of authority to advise on this sort of thing is very concerning, considering the mental situation he was dealing with and all the things that was going on. The fact that he was in the White House advising on anything is troubling. But the fact that he was, in a sense, running cover for his family. And during the last term, we did a whole investigation on the shell game that was going on with what they were doing with millions and millions of dollars from foreign companies, and you know, to make sure that he covered his family on those pardons. But then, you know, everything else that's come out, the 4,000 pardons in just the last few days, and only a little handful that it seems like the president even knew about.
Is there any way to criminally prosecute those behind the Autopen, the use of the Autopen, issuing some? And I think there were executive orders, you know, when the speaker told that story about the banning of liquefied natural gas, and Biden didn't even know about it. I think there's executive orders that were pushed. It says illegally in the report by the House Oversight Committee, your committee. Is there a way for the DOJ to prosecute those inside? And does this amount to a coup? I mean, you've basically stolen power from the president of the United States.
Oh, exactly. And let's remember where the president gets that power. He gets it from the American people. The American people don't delegate it to the staff. They delegate it and invest that power into a president, a duly elected president, who then delegates it to the staff. And it seems like the staff was delegating things to Joe Biden in the White House. And a very limited thing. We all know how early they would call the lid, but definitely criminality here. It looks like forgery, if nothing else, and conspiracy, all these different things that could come out of this. It's very troubling. This should not be happening in the United States. We're kind of in unprecedented waters here, unfortunately, and so the DOJ is going to be working and continuing the work to dig into this as we continue the work to investigate it as well and bring transparency.
You mentioned the White House Chief of Staff. That would be Ron Klain and Jeff Zients, depending on what part of the presidency we're talking about. Were both of those men responsible and behind this?
It looks like Jeff Zients for sure was. The emails came from his account later in the term. Most of these came out in the last 3 months, mind you. Now, the use of the Autopen started on day 5 of the Biden presidency, and so a lot of the executive orders came out. So this is, looks like it goes back to the very beginning of his presidency. We all know that he stayed in the basement during the campaign, somehow pulled off this miraculous victory, and then immediately upon assuming office begins to use the Autopen, or his administration does, for executive action. Well, and so this is troubling. I feel like we're only at the beginning of this, even as this investigation's coming out, and it doesn't even pass the sniff test for sure.
No, it sure doesn't. The report seems to be very thorough. I've gone through most of it, and I appreciate you coming on to talk about it. Any updates on this, Congressman, please bring it to us. We always appreciate when you come on the program.
Yeah, thanks so much, Grant.